Shalom to my brothers and sisters in the body of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, who is the Messiah. And shalom to my brothers and sisters who are Hebrew Israelites who are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Shalom. Now, I know that when you clicked on the title, you're probably saying, what is Sister Yitia talking about now? Okay, my brothers and sisters. This is a word that you definitely want to get some pen and paper, because you definitely want to write down notes. And I do want to make this clear before you comment on the video post. When it pertains to Yahuwah's Sabbath, I am aware of the Saturday Sabbath and the Sunday Sabbath and the history behind those, okay? So before you comment, I'm asking you to watch the whole video and the recommended video, because some of the things you may say to me, I may be already aware. So to save you time and effort, when you comment, please watch this video from the beginning to the end. And when you have some time, also watch the recommended videos. Okay. So the title of this word today, and I do want to point this out as well. The reason why I have it titled to the Israelites, because the Israelites are still under the curse of Yahuwah. Okay. So this word can be given to the Gentiles as well. For those who want to worship and serve Yahuwah too, they have to follow the same covenant that the Hebrew Israelites have to follow. So I'm not excluding you, Gentiles. It's just that this message is really directed to the Israelites, because a lot of them are not aware of the curse they are in, and they are not aware of the deceptions that the heathen has given them today, which pertains to Yahuwah's Sabbath. Okay. So the title of this word is Israelites, 6 working days between the new moon and Sabbath day. Let me reword that correctly, and I do apologize because I left out a word. Israelites, 6 working days must be between the new moon day and the Sabbath day. Yahuwah's Sabbath confirmed. As I had mentioned before, there's a curse that is placed upon Israel regarding his holy days. And we can get more insight and more understanding of the great deception that the heathens has given to the Israelites by studying the history of the Julian and Gregorian calendar. Many of you are not aware that the Julian and Gregorian calendar do not follow the word of the Most High. So I have 2 questions for you. I want you to write down and to meditate on. And I really want you to think about this. Does the heathens calendar start from the creation day 1 or creation day 6? Does the heathen calendar start from creation day 1 or creation day 6? Do the heathens have a calendar record from creation day 1 or from creation day 6? I'm going to repeat that again. Do the heathens have a calendar record from creation day 1 or creation day 6? And please forgive my tongue for twisting words, okay? I do apologize. The reason why I'm asking you these 2 questions, because once you receive this word today, you begin to understand why these questions was given to you, because you will learn that the heathens do not have an accurate calendar. And you will also learn that their calendar is not based on the word of Yahuwah that is written in the King James 1611 Holy Bible. So let us begin. In the video description box, Yahuwah himself has spoken through his messengers. There are 2 videos for you to watch for those who are not aware of his message. The first video pertains only to Hebrew Israelites, and the second video pertains to Israelites and Gentiles. When you have some time, watch those videos. And this will be listed in the video description box, and look to the right-hand corner of this video to have access to it as well. Now, also in the video description box, there will be a video playlist to give you an understanding of YAHUWAH Calendar. For this video here, it's going to give you the main highlights. It's going to give you some details, but for more specific details, I highly recommend that you watch the playlist when you have some time. So that way, when you are commenting or when you have a question, you can understand where I'm coming from. Because where I'm coming from is based on the word. It's not based on man opinion, and it's not based on man doctrine. It's based on the word, on what Yahuwah has shown unto me. Okay. So when you have some time, watch that. Now, in the video playlist of YAHUWAH Calendar, many do not know this, that his calendar is consistent of the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth. And Mazzaroth is the Hebrew word for the 12 signs. Okay. So in this playlist, there'll be 2 videos that I will mention in this video. And these 2 videos can be also found in the same playlist. You shall find them at the end of the playlist videos. And they are the King James 1611 Almanac and YAHUWH creation timeline events. That starts from day 1 of creation all the way to day 15. The reason why you see day 15, because there are other prophecies that are mentioned in the King James 1611 Bible and hidden books that will give you more insight of the upcoming days of YAHUWH creation timeline. Okay, so please remember that. All right. The next video link that is listed in the video description box will give you more insight and understanding that always on your Passover day, which is Abib 14, and also always on the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar, which is called Ethanim or Tishri, which is which is the 15th day. On this day is when you have a full moon. The full moon falls on Abib 14 and on the 7th month of the Hebrew calendar on the 15th day. And on that 15th day is the Feast of Tabernacles. Also click on that video link to receive the evidence and the proof, okay, to show you that we always have a full moon on these 2 holy feast days, okay? Now this brings us to this, because you know how the Pharisees, the Sadducees, and the Herodians of today are. And this also includes some of the Christians today, okay? For those who come against the word of the Most High, okay? This message is for you, all right? Those who condemn others for keeping the holy days and feasts of Yahuwah, you need to beware, because you are coming against the word of the Most High. In the video description box, there is a video for you to watch, because I go over the scriptures to prove to you that Yahuwah does not change. And we Hebrew Israelites are to keep a memorial of these holy days that he has given unto us. Okay, so the title of that video is The Holy Days and Feasts, Judgment Against the Levites. All right, so that would be in the video description box. However, I have a word from you from the King James 1611 Bible. Go to Colossians chapter 2, verse 16 through 17. For it says, let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of the Messiah. You definitely want to highlight that verse in your Bible, because that verse you can give to these naysayers, because this is even written in the new covenant. Okay, this is where this comes from the new covenant. And we are not to judge anyone for keeping a memorial of these holy days. And what I find so ironic about those who condemn us for doing that, they are keeping the heathen pagan days. And they cannot provide evidence that those heathen pagan days are in the Bible. And the heathen pagan days I'm talking about are Christmas, New Year's Day, Easter, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Thanksgiving, Halloween, and etc. They cannot prove to us that we are to keep those pagan holidays, okay? Because it's not in the Bible, all right? So that is my warning to you. But let us look at this verse here. So we are not to judge no one in eating and drinking, or in respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days. Now, I know how the Christians do. They're going to run with this, okay? What it's saying that those who follow Torah, who want to eat the clean foods, you are not to judge them, for they are following the word of the Most High. Because even science will back up Torah and prove to you that when you eat those unclean foods such as pork, you are damaging your health, okay? You are bringing death to you quickly, all right? Now, also in this verse, it said what? Or in respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath day. So that is your proof we are to still respect Yahuwah holy days and honor them and keep a memorial of them, okay? Also, I want to bring to your attention, because a lot of people run with this. When they see the word meat, they automatically think it's flesh from animals. This comes from them not studying the Old Testament, not studying Torah, okay? Because depending on the context of the verse, the word meat pertains to bread. And here's the proof. Acts chapter 2, verse 46. And they continued daily with one accord in the temple, and breaking bread from house to house, did eat their meat with gladness and singleness of heart. So when the scriptures are giving you the word or saying that they were eating meat, keep in mind that can pertain to bread. Also read Leviticus chapter 2 and Leviticus chapter 23. And there's many other scriptures listed in the Bible that will confirm to you what I'm saying. Now, going back to Colossians chapter 2, verse 17, it says here, which are a shadow of things to come. Many of you stop at the Messiah crucifixion and resurrection. But I'm here to tell you those holy days, those holy feast days are giving you a message of what things that are to come when the Messiah come back. A mystery that many don't understand. And when you get to the second part of this verse, it said, but the body is of the Messiah. That's telling you or giving you a little hint about the inheritance of the Messiah, his bride. Another mystery that many do not understand. So take some time, my brothers and sisters, to seek Yahuwah for his understanding. Stop following man. Now, this brings us to this verse. Now, this is a verse you definitely want to highlight in your Bible and you want to meditate on. Because see, when Yahuwah brought this to my attention about his Sabbath day, he had me to start all over, my brothers and sisters. He had me go from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, from the Old Testament to the Apocrypha and to the New Testament, as well as to his hidden rules and to his ancient historians such as Philo and Josephus. See, he had me to research all these things. So let us read Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. It says, and Yahuwah said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Now, this verse you want to meditate on, because the first question you should ask yourself, well, you should ask Yahuwah, what are the lights? And this word is plural. What are the lights that are in the firmament of the heaven that you use for signs and for seasons and for days and years? Think about that. What are the lights in the heavens that are used for signs? What are the lights in the heaven that tells us when the seasons, the days and years, when they begin and end? What are those lights, my brothers and sisters? Okay. So after reading that, the Father had me also to go to Ezekiel chapter 46 and chapter 46, verse 1. Now, when you get some time, I want you to read the whole chapter because it's going to give you more insight and more understanding of what we shall do in the new eternal kingdom. Okay? For it says in 46 verse 1 that thus saith Yahuwah, the gate of the inner court that looketh towards the east shall be shut these 6 working days. But on the Sabbath it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon it shall be open. Now, those who are gifted to understand the English language, who understand grammar, you see what? Conjunctions, and you will also see commas. So let's break this down slowly. See, according to the word, we must have what? 6 working days between the new moon day and the Sabbath day. And you all saying, huh? Let's go back and look at this verse. It says in this verse that the east gate of the inner court, it says that the gate of the inner court faces east, must be shut 6 working days. So that gate had to be closed for 6 working days. But on the Sabbath day, it is open. You see a comma there? And we got another conjunction. And in the day of the new moon, it shall be open. So this gate of the inner court that faced east will be open on the Sabbath day, which is the 7th day of Yahuwah's week. And it shall be open on the new moon day. But the word just told us that this gate has to be closed 6 working days. Now I know you're scratching your head because you're trying to understand what is Yahuwah talking about here in this verse that he gave to his prophet Ezekiel. So you know me, I got something to give you more visual and more insight because we just had a new moon to pass, okay? So now let us go to the calendar. Because see, those who've been keeping record are aware that the new moon crescent was sighted on April the 27th at sundown, okay? And if you follow the format that's written in Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1, we must have 6 working days to follow after the new moon day. Okay, and so you see this here. I have 6 working days to follow after the new moon day, which you see starting from day 1 and ending on day 6. And then after day 6, I have Yahuwah's Sabbath day. Now let us go to the heathen calendar. Okay. I'm going to blow this up in April. We're going to see if the new moon day has 6 working days between the Sabbath day on the heathen's calendar. Now this calendar is known as the Gregorian calendar. So the new moon crescent was seen on Thursday, the new moon crescent was seen on Thursday on April the 27th at sundown. So that'll be day 1. Then April the 28th at sundown would be day 2. Then April the 29th at sundown would be day 3. Hold it here now. Do you see what I see? Day 3 fall on Saturday. How is that possible? Because see, the heathens told us that the Sabbath day is on Saturday. How is that possible that we don't have 6 working days between the new moon and the Sabbath day of Yahuwah? Think about that, my brothers and sisters. But before you start watching this video, I'm asking you to hear all the evidence out because I know what else you think. You're thinking about Genesis chapter 1. So guess what? I have the evidence to prove to you that Genesis chapter 1 is aligned with Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. So I'm asking you to hear me out before you start listening to this video. Okay. So, before I proceed further, witnesses that would confirm Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1 can be found in the Old Testament, the Apocrypha, and the New Testament, the King James 1611 Bible. First and Second Enoch, my people. A lot of people stop at First Enoch, but that's another book written by Enoch. First and Second Enoch. And First and Second Adam and Eve, Jubilees. And I don't have it listed here, but also the works of Philo, the works of Josephus, and many other works will confirm to you what I'm showing you in the Word. Okay, so I know what the next question you're asking yourself: wasn't the sun, the moon, and the stars created on the fourth day? Now you scratching your head. Let me tell you why you're having a hard time accepting this. Because again, we've been following the heathens too long, my brothers and sisters. Let me tell you why. So I want you to listen and hear what I'm telling you. Because I know what is happening. Most of you are thinking that the 6 days of creation that occur in a week, which is 7 days, equals to 24 hours per day. And this is why you're not understanding Yahuwah's calendar. Okay, this is why you're not understanding Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1, because that is wrong. Okay, the 6 days of creation in a week does not equal 7 days. And the 7 days that I'm talking about is the days that you think is 24 hours a day. It's not based on that. Okay, here's the answer. The 6 days of creation that occur in a week, when we talk about a week, we're talking about what, 7, right? The 6 days of creation that occur in a week equals 7,000 years. Yes, my brothers and sisters. See, when you don't read the whole volume of the book, you won't understand Yahuwah and how he see time. Because see, we on a small scale, but Yahuwah on a larger scale. Okay? Bear with me because I want you to hear me out. Because when you read the word of Yahuwah, you will come to find out that a day unto him equals 1,000 years. And this can be found in 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, and Psalms chapter 90, verse 4. Those are two scriptures that can give you some evidence of what I'm saying to you. But there's another proof that's written in the book of Genesis that many people ignore. Okay? So take this time now to pause the screen because I want you to write this down. A day unto Yahuwah equals 1,000 years. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 8, and Psalms chapter 90, verse 4. Now here's the second proof that can be found in the book of Genesis. Okay? The question you need to ask yourself, what day was Adam created? What day, my brothers and sisters? We all know, according to Genesis chapter 1, he was created, according to Genesis chapter 1 and chapter 2, as well as the book of Jubilees, okay? We all know that Adam was created on day 6, okay? In the week, he was created on day 6. So the next question you need to ask yourself, what was the day that Adam died? And you probably saying, what did that got to do anything? This is the reason why. Many people overlook the scriptures that are written in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 through 17. So I'm going to read that to you now. Verse 16, and Yahuwah El commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest eat freely. Thou mayest freely eat. Verse 17, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it. For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. Now, if you take verse 17 and you base the day on 24 hours, then you're going to find yourself questioning the word of the Most High, because many of you are aware when he died. Okay. So by us already knowing that 1,000 years equals a day unto Yahuwah, we know that in verse 17, when it said that in the day that thou eatest thereof, we know that day is not based on 24 hours. It's based within 1,000-year period. Let us keep going. So the answer to the question is that Adam died in the 6th day of creation. Okay. And in that 6th day of creation, it fell on the 6,930th year, which can be confirmed in Genesis chapter 5. Now are you seeing how that is fulfilling the verse in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17? Because I want to read this to you again. Because in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, it says that, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die. So this word here, you see this highlighted. It say in the day. In what day, my brothers and sisters? In the 6th day of creation, Adam shall die. Okay. And he died in the 6,930th year. Now is your mind opening and begin to understand Yahuwah, because this is a very important piece when we're trying to learn what is Yahuwah Sabbath day. But let us continue. Another great example of how time is different to Yahuwah can be found in Daniel's 70 weeks prophecy. And I believe that's written in Daniel's chapter 9. For in that chapter, 70 weeks equals 490 years, because a week in that verse equals 7 years. Therefore, 70 weeks multiplied by 7 years equals 490 years. Do you see how the Most High see time a little differently from you, my brothers and sisters? Okay. So now we're beginning to understand how we fell for this great deception that the heathens has given to us. And also we're going to begin to understand the curse of Yahuwah that he has placed upon the nation of Israel. But let us keep going. So another important chapter I want you to read is Isaiah chapter 55. For in verse 8 through 9, you will learn that Yahuwah's ways and his thoughts are different from man. So this is why you have to seek Yahuwah for his understanding. This is why when we read his word, before making any conclusion, we need to seek him as our Father in his Son name, which is Yahuswshua HaMashiyach, asked in his Son name, said, Father, give me understanding of what the scripture is saying to me. Give me understanding of your word. Give me understanding of your truth. Okay? This is very important, my brothers and sisters. Okay? This is why many of us are not awakened to the truth about Yahuwah's calendar. This is why many of us are prideful and we think that what we're following is correct. So when the brothers and sisters coming by to edify you, we put up a defensive wall and say, no, you're not right. But what I learned in this walk through Yahuwah, that we have to be humble and we have to listen, because if that person's coming with you with the word and showing it to you, then you need to seek Yahuwah. I'm not saying that you agree with them right away, but what I'm saying to you is be humble, be willing to listen. Then if you don't understand it before giving your final judgment or your final decision, seek Yahuwah in the name of Yahuswshua HaMashiyach for his understanding. Okay? Because we have been taught too long of man's doctrine. See, we have been in Babylon for too long. And we've been taught the Babylonian ways. All right? Now we're going to get to the understanding about the 4th day of creation now, okay? Now, the sun, the moon, and the stars, and this includes Mazzaroth, which is the 12 signs, we are aware they are created on the 4th day of creation. And now that we have an understanding that 1,000 years equals to a day unto Yahuwah. We know now that the fourth day of creation is the 4,000 year. So I have a question for you, my brothers and sisters. Why would you think that Yahuwah would not have these lights in the heavens aligned with his calendar and holy days? I want to read this question to you again because I want you to think about this. Why would you think that Yahuwah would not have these lights in the heavens aligned with his calendar and holy days? Israel, again, you are placing restrictions/limits on Yahuwah powers. Please read Psalms chapter 78. For you have forgotten the curse on why you are not keeping the correct holy days and feasts. See, you have forgotten, my brothers and sisters, you have forgot why we are not keeping these correct days. And the days I'm talking about is the new moons, the Sabbath days, his holy feast days. Okay? And I want you to read Hosea chapter 2 and the book of Jubilees, because that will give you more insight and understanding. Because, see, Yahuwah placed a curse upon the nation of Israel because he was tired of their idolatry. He was tired of them cheating on him and giving him the less. So he put a curse upon the nation of Israel. And even to this day, the descendants of the nation of Israel are not keeping the holy days and holy feasts on his correct days. Okay? Now, I don't expect everybody to receive this word that I'm giving to you, but what I want you to do, I want you to seek Yahuwah, because I was in your same shoes. I was one of you. But then when I humbled myself and when I sought out the Most High and I went back and started from the beginning of the book to the end of the book, and then when I went in the heathens, historical books, I realized that we was given another lie with the calendar format. But let us keep going. So we have already reviewed Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, but let us discuss Ben Sirah, which is known as Ecclesiasticus, in the Apocrypha. Let us read chapter 43, verse 6 to 10, because those verses will reveal one of the lights. Okay, remember, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14 has lights with an S. But when you go to Ben Sirah, it reveals one of the lights to give us understanding of what that light is used for. So let us read this. Ben Sirah chapter 43, verse 6. He made the moon also to serve her season, for a declaration of times and a sign of the world. So when we compare this verse to Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, we can see that the Most High made the moon to serve in her appointed times. And the moon will declare unto us the times. So you might ask, well, what times are we talking about? Think about this. If the moon declare unto us his holy feast days and the new moon days, why cannot the moon declare unto us his Sabbath days? Something to think about. Now we begin to see how Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1 goes along with Ben Sirah chapter 43, verse 6 to 10, because we got to have 6 working days between the new moon day and the Sabbath day. Okay. Also in this verse, it said that the moon would be a sign unto us in this world. And we can see that coming to pass even with the blood moons. For the blood moons can only occur on their full moon day, which happened from the year of 2014 all the way to 2015. We have 4 blood moons. And those 4 blood moons occur on these feast days. That was Passover, Abib 14, and that was the Feast of Tabernacles, which is Tishri or Ethanim 15. Okay, let us read verse 7 now. I want you something to really think about. Okay, verse 7. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. So here we can see again, it's confirmed to us that the moon is the sign of feast. because when you count the days of the moon, this is how we know when we have the feast of Passover, which is also known as the Feast of Unleavened Bread. Also, this is how we know when we have the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay? And if you notice that when the moon is full on Abib 14th and on the 7th month, the 15th day, the moon is full on that day, and then it begins, and then after those days, it start decreasing in light. Okay? In other words, the light start getting smaller after those days. Pay attention. Something to really think about. Now, there's a precept to that verse, and that verse is Genesis chapter 1, verse 16. You can pause the screen now to read that verse, but I'm not going to read it, but that's something for you to read in your spare time. All right? Now, verse 8. The moon is called after her, the month is called after her name. Increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven. So in this verse here, now you understand why we use the moon to regulate our months. Okay? Because the month is based after the moon. The month is called after the moon's name. Okay? Also, you can see at the beginning of the month, guess what? We start with a silver crescent, and then from that silver crescent, the moon start to increase in light. And then on the 14th or 15th day of each lunar month, we have a full moon. And after the full moon day, because it's only one full moon day, and the day that I'm talking about is when the moon is 100% illuminated. Then after that full moon day, the moon starts decreasing in light until it has no light, and that's the end of the month. Now let us read verse 9. The beauty of heaven, the glory of the stars, an ornament giving light in the highest places of Yahuwah. So this is one of the lights that is placed in heaven. It is a light of blue. It is a light of beauty. Okay. It also is the glory of the stars. So it's just like an ornament. Okay. It's going to be noticed. And this ornament gives lights. And this ornament give us light in the heavens. Okay. Now the precept for verse 7 is Exodus chapter 12, verse 2. So take this time now to pause the screen, for I'm not going to read that. Okay. But let us continue. Now we begin to understand that, hey, the week of creation do not equal 7 days, but it actually equal to 7,000 years unto Yahuwah. We also receive the understanding that on the 4th day of creation, which is 4,000 years, that the sun, the moon, and the stars, including Mazzaroth, is aligned with Yahuwah holy days and holy feast days. Okay? Something to really think about. And we also learned that Adam died in the 6th day of creation, which is the 6,000 year. And in the 6th day, he died on the 6,930 years. So he fulfilled a prophecy that was written in Genesis chapter 2, verse 17. For he died in that day. He died in the 6th day of creation. Something to really think about, my brothers and sisters. Now this brings us to a chart because I want us to compare the Gregorian calendar to the Most High calendar. Okay. So when we look at a whole day, because a lot of you, before you comment, do not come at me about daylight. When I'm talking about a whole day, I'm talking about night and daylight. I'm going by the word. Okay. So if you make a comment about the day start at daylight, then I'm going to tell you this already. You need to break down Exodus chapter 11, Exodus chapter 12, and Deuteronomy chapter 16. Starting from the time when they kept Passover, which was sundown, to the time when the destroyer came, to the time when they left out of Egypt. Then I also want you to go to the New Testament and break down from the time when the Messiah kept Passover, to the time when they got him, to the time when Peter denied him, to the time when he faced Pontus, to the time when he got on the cross, to the time when they took him off the cross, okay, and to the time when they put him in his new tomb. Break that down. Okay, I just want to save you some time. Now, let us look at the Gregorian calendar versus the YAHUWH calendar. Now, on the heathen calendar, their day starts from midnight to midnight. But on the Most High calendar, our days start from sundown to sundown, for he is a father of light. He don't deal with darkness. Yes, he created darkness, but he let you know he's of light. He's showing you that he is good and he is not evil. Okay? Read 1 John chapter 1. And I want you to do a word search. Type in light in the new covenant and read all those scriptures that pertain to light and see the correlation to the Father. For he is always about light. He don't represent himself with darkness. Do you understand what I'm saying here? In other words, this is why his day begin and end in light. His day don't begin and end in darkness. For he is not evil. He's good. Let us continue. When you look at the heathen's calendar for their month, it's either 30 or 31 days, and sometimes it is 28. I almost forgot 1 month, or 29. And the reason is they're going by the sun, but that's a question mark for that, and I'll explain why. Okay. So when you compare that to the Most High calendar, our monthly days, total days, are 29 or 30 days. Okay. Now, when you compare the Gregorian calendar to Yahuwah's calendar, the Gregorian calendar is based on the sun, and that's a question mark, and you'll see why as I go further down. But the Most High calendar is based on the sun, the moon, and Mazzaroth, which is 12, which are the 12 signs, the 12 star constellations. You do further research. So again, this is confirmed in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. He's using all these lights in the heaven to let you know about his calendar. Okay. Now we're gonna get an understanding why I put a question mark dealing with the heathen calendar, which is the Gregorian calendar. When you look at them following the sun, they actually don't follow the sun. And what I mean by that, they don't follow the sun's circuit, which is known as tropical year. Their calendar is based on a non-tropical year. So this is why they would have 365 or 366 days. But it would not be aligned with the heavens. That is the biggest difference, and I'll explain further. When you compare that to the Most High calendar, okay, you would find that the moon has 354 or 355 days. And also, his calendar has, for the sun, 365 or 366 days, which is based off the tropical year, which means it's based off the sun's circuit. And before you comment, those who only read First Enoch, you got to read Second Enoch. I'm just trying to save you some time. Okay. And those who have only read First Enoch, none of you has went out and taken the time to observe the heavens to make sure what you are following align up with your calendar record. And we'll talk more about that as we go further in this video. And also watch YAHUWH calendar playlist, and that'll give you more information on what I'm talking about. Because I found a lot of people having so-called calendar records, but they don't take the time to go out to observe the heavens to make sure that is matching up with what they have. Okay. So when you look at the Gregorian calendar, their 366 days is out of sync with the heavens. So when you look at their leap year, it's not correct. But when you look at the Most High calendar, when we have a leap month and a leap year, and I'll explain what I'm saying. When we have a leap month, it falls with the moon year, and we will have a 13th month. When we have a leap year, it will fall with the sun year, and you will have 366 days. And those 2 years are in line with the heavens. That means you can go out and observe what I'm telling you just by watching the heavens. Just by watching the heavens. Okay. So in this note here, I want to read to you. In order to understand Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, first and second Enoch, first and second Adam Eve, Jubilees, the work of Josephus and Philo, and any other sources you may have, you must observe the heavens and keep a record. See, what you observe has to line up with what you're keeping. It has to line up also with biblical prophecies. That's another thing people don't look at. It also has to line up with the holy feast days. Okay. It also has to line up with your full moon falling on the Passover day, which is Abib 14, and the full moon falling on your Feast of Tabernacles, which is Tishri, the 15th day, or Ether, the 15th day. Okay. Everything has to line up. And if something don't line up, there should be a prophecy to explain why. Okay. Let us keep going. Because a lot of people not understanding the mystery of the Sabbath. There is a spiritual message behind that. There's a reason why the Father told us to keep the Sabbath day. Now, I'm not going to give you the spiritual mystery behind it, but but you can find that answer in the videos I tell you to watch. Okay? Because I want to keep this video mainly focused on why we have 6 working days between the new moon day and the Sabbath day of Yahuwah's calendar. Okay. Now, to get a more understanding about the mystery of the Sabbath, you can read about it in Jubilees, in the book of Jubilees, chapter 2. And I recommend that you read that whole chapters, my brothers and sisters. Also, in addition, I want you to read Ben Sira, which is known as Ecclesiasticus of the Apocrypha. I want you to read chapter 33 and chapter 17, because it would give you understanding of what Jubilees chapter 2 is talking about. So what I did for you, my brothers and sisters, on this screen now, I want you to take your time now to pause your screen and to read these verses, because as you're aware that the heathens got a hold of our books, okay? So they did a lot of translation for us, all right? And this is why I cannot stress it's so important to have the King James 1611 Bible at your hand to compare, so you can get the Most High whole truth. And if you don't understand something, my brothers and sisters, again, ask Yahuwah and he will give it unto you. All right. Now, when you read Jubilees chapter 2, I want to point out to you verse 8, because in verse 8, the translator left out something very important. However, he confirmed what I'm telling you now. Okay, so let me read verse 8 to you first. And on the 4th day, he created the sun and the moon and the stars, and set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon all the earth, and to rule over the day and the night, and divide the light from the darkness. Verse 9. And Yahuwah appointed the sun to be a great sign on the earth for days, and for Sabbaths, and for months, and for feasts, and for years, and for Sabbaths of years, and for jubilees, and for all seasons of the years. Now, I know what you're thinking now. Wait a minute. But it's based on the sun. This is the translator error. I'm talking about the one who translated the Most High word into English. Okay, I'm talking about the heathens, because you know they got a hold of our books. Okay, our sacred books. But what I like about sacredtext.com is that they give you more insight of what was left out, because they tell you. So when you go to that site, I want you to click on number 4. You will see it within that verse. And when you click on number 4, you're going to see this 42:4. And it says, note the intentional omission of the moon. The writer objected to a calendar based upon the changes of the moon. So we have confirmation from the Apocrypha, from Ben Sira chapter 43, verse 6 to 10, that the calendar is also based upon the changes of the moon. So let me give you more understanding of what verse 9 is telling us. Because when you understand how the sun and the moon and even the stars, how they work together, then you will understand how we are able to determine what is Yahuwah's Sabbath days. Okay? Because this verse pointed out here that if you For example, if you use the sun, the moon, and the stars, okay, they would be a great sign for us, okay, on the earth for days and for Sabbaths. That's talking about the seventh day of the Most High calendar of the week, and also they would be for, and also they would be signs for the months and for the feasts and for the years and for the Sabbath of years and for Jubilees and for all seasons of the years. Okay, take this time now to pause the screen. I will put the link of Sacred Text Jubilees book so you can read this for yourself. But I want to point this out to you because I know many people like to run with things. Many people don't read everything. They even won't click on any notes on that site, because if I didn't click on the note, I would not have been aware that the translator left out the moon. Okay. But because Yahuwah showed unto me through his word that his calendar is based upon the changes of the moon and the sun and the stars, that gave me the understanding that, the moon was left out intentionally. And this was done by the heathens. So now this brings us to this, because this is a question I really want you to think about. If you are lost in the wilderness, okay, and you don't have a calendar, and I'm talking about a calendar of man, you don't have a watch, you have no internet, you have nothing that can tell you time, date, year, or month, then how will you know when a day, a month, a season, a year begins and ends? How will you know, my brothers and sisters, when you're out in the wilderness and you have nothing to give you this information? Think about it, because the answer is in Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, which also brings us to this question. How will you know when is the Sabbath day if you're lost in the wilderness, my brothers and sisters? So if you're lost in the wilderness, how will you know when it's the Sabbath day of Yahuwah? Because remember, my ancestors, well, actually our ancestors, the Israelites, didn't have this stuff. They depended on the heavens. Genesis chapter 1, verse 14. Think about it. Okay? Take this time now to pause your screen and really think about this question. Another interesting fact I want to bring to your attention is that when you read Genesis chapter 1, you will notice that darkness was there first. So, darkness existed first. Then came light. Now the light that came was before the sun, the moon, the stars. Think about this. Something very interesting. Very interesting, my brothers and sisters. Okay. Now we are going to the offerings. You probably say, well, what they got to do with it? Did you know, if you study about the offerings that we offer on these holy days and holy feast days, will give you more insight and understanding about when is the Most High Sabbath day? Did you know that? Okay. So let's start with the offerings first. The Sabbath day, and the Sabbath day I'm talking about, is the seventh day of Yahuwah's week, okay, in his calendar. The Sabbath day offerings are never offered on the new moon day, okay? Think about it. I'm telling you now, it's in the word. The Sabbath day offerings are never offered on the new moon day. I'm talking about the seventh day of Yahuwah's week. Offering is not offered on the new moon day. You're probably asking me, well, what is the Sabbath day offering? You're going to have to go to Numbers. You're going to write this down now. Chapter 28. This is why it's so important to have access to the King James 1611 Bible. And the link to this Bible will be in the video description box. Okay. To be familiar, what is the Sabbath day offering, which is the seventh day of Yahuwah's week in his calendar, can be found in Numbers chapter 28, starting with verse. Let me find it for you. starting with verse 9 and ending with verse 10. Get familiar with that. Because when you study that whole chapter, you will learn that the Sabbath day offerings, which is the seventh day of Yahuwah's week in his calendar, are never offered on the new moon day. And the new moon day offering is known as the monthly burnt offering. And the same thing vice versa, such as the new moon day offering, which is the monthly burnt offering, will not be offered on the Sabbath day. And the Sabbath day I'm talking about, again, my people, I want to make this clear, is the seventh day of Yahuwah's week in his calendar. Okay? Read Numbers chapter 28 and chapter 29. And also read the work of Josephus, Antiquity, Book 3, chapter 10. Read that whole chapter, and you will see a difference. Okay? Now, the only offering that is offered on every day of Yahuwah's calendar is the daily sacrifice, which is known as the continual burnt offerings. And that daily sacrifice is offered twice a day, morning and evening. Now, my brothers and sisters, if these feasts falls on the Sabbath day, okay, I'm sorry, let me start over again. I want to bring this to your attention. And if these feasts, I'm talking about like your Feast of Unleavened Bread, Pentecost, Feast of Tabernacles, okay, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those holy feasts. And if these holy feasts falls on the Sabbath day, then you will offer their offerings beside the Sabbath day offerings, such as the Feast of Tabernacles falls on the seventh day of Yahuwah, which is Tishri, the 15th day. So on Tishri, the 15th day, which is the 7th month and 15th day, you will offer the Feast of Tabernacle offerings that are listed in Numbers chapter 29 and Leviticus chapter 23. In addition to that, you will also offer the daily sacrifice, which is known as the continual burnt offering. And also in addition to that, you will offer the Sabbath offerings. Okay, very important. Now this brings us to Leviticus chapter 23, because this is something that many people have not noticed. Okay. In Leviticus chapter 23, there is a reason why we do not see the new moon mentioned in Leviticus chapter 23. I want to say this again. In Leviticus chapter 23, there is a reason why the new moon is not mentioned. Okay? The new moon day is a holy day, a day of worship unto Yahuwah. However, the new moon day is not a holy convocation day. And a holy convocation day is a day of rest, my brothers and sisters. I want to read this to you again because I really want you to pay attention. The new moon day is a holy day, a day of worship, and not a holy convocation day, a day of rest. Big difference. And proof of this can be found in Numbers chapter 28 and 1 Ezra chapter 9, verse 16, verse 50 through 54. You see, the only feast that falls on a new moon day is the Feast of Trumpets. And according to Numbers chapter 29 and Leviticus chapter 23, the Feast of Trumpet is a day of rest. Not because it falls on a new moon day, my brothers and sisters, but because it is a holy feast day of Yahuwah that is declared by him. And he told us in his word that when we celebrate the Feast of Trumpets, he do not want us to worship. He do not want us to work on that day. I want to make this clear again. The Feast of Trumpets is a day of rest, not because it falls on a new moon day, but because it is a holy feast unto Yahuwah. And Yahuwah declares that this holy feast is a holy convocation day, a day of rest. Please go back and study Leviticus chapter 23 and compare it to Numbers chapter 28 and Numbers chapter 29, and you will see the difference. Okay? This explains why you will always see the new moon and the Sabbath listed separately in scriptures. This is the proof I'm giving to you. Do a word search. I'm telling you, you will see it. For example, 2 Chronicles chapter 2, verse 4. Behold, I built an house to the name of Yahuwah my to dedicate it to him, and to burn before him sweet incense, and for the continuous shewbread, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening. Think about this. What is the burnt offerings morning and evening? The daily sacrifice. Okay? Let us continue to read. And for the burnt offerings morning and evening, on the Sabbath days, on the Sabbaths, and on the new moons, and on the solemn feasts of YAHUWAH I. This is an audience forever to Israel. Now, again, those who are gifted with grammar and English, this verse is telling you a whole lot. But when you read this verse correctly, we're going to read it. We're going to start over. Behold, I built an house to the name of Yahuwah my to dedicate it to him. This is Solomon speaking. And to burn before him sweet incense, comma, and for the continuous shewbread, comma, and for the burnt offerings morning and evening, comma. Now, here is listing the things that follow the burnt offerings. For we already know, according to Numbers chapter 28, the daily sacrifice, which is the burnt offering that is offered morning and evening, is offered on the Sabbath days, comma, and on the new moon days, comma, and on the solemn feast days of YAHUWAH. That is one offering that goes nonstop. It don't stop. Now, this verse is also proving to you that the Most High Sabbath day is separate from the new moon day, which also confirmed Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. Okay? Take this time now to pause your screen and really meditate on this verse. Also, the daily sacrifice is offered on the solemn feast days. Okay? This sacrifice does not stop. Now, I also want to bring to your attention, what are the 3 solemn feasts that we celebrate throughout the year? There it is, which can be found in 2 Chronicles chapter 8, verse 12, as well as Deuteronomy chapter 16. The 3 solemn feasts that we celebrate are the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which is known as Passover, the Feast of Weeks, which is known as Pentecost, and the Feast of Tabernacles. Okay? And notice also in this verse that the Sabbath day is listed separate from the new moon day. It's a reason for those days are treated differently. For the new moon day is a holy day, a worship day unto Yahuwah. But the Sabbath day is a day of rest and a worship day unto Yahuwah. Okay? Also, we can find evidence of this in 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 23. For it says, and he said, wherefore will thou go to him today? It is neither new moon. Hold on for 1 second. Let me get a little water. My voice is going dry. All right. Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, it shall be well. Now notice the verse again, new moon and Sabbath is separate. It said it is neither new moon nor Sabbath. So the day that he said, in other words, the day that he's talking about, he's letting the lady know it is not the new moon day, nor it is the Sabbath day. Again, you have to really pay attention to grammar, to the English language. Okay? Now this is one verse that will definitely confirm what I'm telling you. When you go to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 23, you will find that the new moon day is separate from the Sabbath day. For this verse says, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah. So again, the new moon day is separate from the Sabbath day. It confirms Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1. And it also confirmed that in the new eternal kingdom, we're going to keep these holy days. But let us keep going. Now, in the video playlist that I'm going to give for you to watch that pertains to the calendar, in that playlist, it has a video to give you the biblical events and the dates, okay? So watch that video. Because when the Most High had me to write down his creation timeline, it also confirmed the Sabbath day as well, all right? So number one, when you have some time, watch those videos. Okay, number two, when you read the 1611 Bible, there is historical proof that give us dates that we can align with the Gentile dates, okay, which is very important. Because again, it's going to help us to understand when all these holy days are, all right? So the historic events that are listed can be found in the book of Maccabees, in the book of the Kings and Chronicles, also in the work of Josephus, Philo, and many other sources. For example, when King Solomo started building the temple, we can find historical records that would line up with the word that it was built in 969 BC, okay, according to the Gentile records. Also, according to the word and the hidden books, you will learn that the Messiah was crucified and resurrected in 32 AD, okay? And the Gentiles, the Gentiles have records of the signs that were given in heaven. They have records of this that occur on his crucifixion day that's dealing with the darkness that occurred from the 6th hour to the 9th hour, which is known as a lunar eclipse. Not a solar eclipse. It was a lunar eclipse, which is called a total eclipse or a central lunar eclipse. Look that up. However, I want to keep this short. So because the Bible and the books that I had just read to you that I was reading gave me a more specific timeline, I learned there was a 1,000-year difference on Yahuwah creation timeline between the building of the temple to the day that Yahushua was crucified and resurrected. Okay? Because the building of the temple occurred in the 4,500 year from Adam, which is day 4. When you convert it to creation time, it occurred in day 9, which is 9,500. And for the Messiah, the Messiah, when he was crucified, he went down to Sheol, which is the heart of the earth, to set the captives free. And that's all also in the Bible as well. That's proof of that he did go to Sheol. Okay, that's in the Bible, which is the heart of the earth, to set the captives free, as well as the hidden books. You will learn that it occurred on the 5,500 year from Adam. And that's definitely confirmed in the first and second Adam and Eve. So he went out to Sheol to set the captives free on the 5,500 year from Adam, which is day 5. When you convert that time to the creation timeline, you get day 10, which is 10,500. So the difference between these two time periods, you would get 1,000 years. And the same thing with the Gentiles time period. When you take 969 BC to 32 AD, you would get 1,000-year difference. Remember, you're going from BC to AD, so there's no zero between those years. You got to understand the Gentile format, but you will get 1,000-year difference between those two periods. And because the Most High has given this information to me, I learned that it confirmed the sabbatical year that occurred in 2015 to 2016. It also confirmed the Shemitah year that occurred in 2014 to 2015. So take this time now to pause the screen to review that information. But I'm highly recommending to you that you read the King James 1611, First and Second Adam and Eve, Jubilees, Josephus, Philo, First and Second Enoch, Jubilees, etc. Now we get into the juicy part, the history of the Gregorian calendar. Okay. Now, to understand the history of the Gregorian calendar, you're going to have to look at the Julian calendar, because many people are not aware that most nations were following the Julian calendar for a very long period of time. The Gregorian calendar did not start until about the 1500s. Now, this brings me to this screen here, because I want you to see this for proof. When you do a Google search for Gregorian calendar, this is what pops up. The Gregorian calendar is intentionally the most widely used civil calendar. It is named after Pope Gregory the 13th, who introduced it in October 1582. And excuse the background noise, okay? So I'm going to continue to read. The calendar was a refinement to the Julian calendar involving a 0.002% correction in the length of the year. Okay, so there had to be a correction made by the Gentiles. Again, the Gentiles do not follow what's written in the Most High Word. So when you see here, we just learned that the Gregorian calendar was introduced by the Roman Catholic Church under Pope Gregory the 13th in October 1582. Now, that's something you really want to pause, scream, and think about. Now, if the Gregorian calendar didn't start being used until 1582, that tells you a lot, because a lot of time has passed since the days of Adam. Makes you wonder if that calendar is really lined up with the word. Okay? Now let's go back to this tab. So to understand more about the heathen's calendars, you got to understand the prophecy that Daniel gave to us. Okay? When you read Daniel chapter 7 and look at verse 23 to 25, you will begin to understand that the heathens change times. And if the heathen change times, then how do you know the Sabbath you are keeping is correct? How do you know this? But let me read a word to you first. Daniel chapter 7, verse 23. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down and break it in pieces. Now you want to highlight fourth beast, because that's how you know what kingdom we are in now. We are in the fourth beast kingdom, okay? Verse 24. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Now, when you read this verse here, a lot of people tend to run with this because they're not understanding. When this prophecy was given unto Daniel, it was like a summary of things to occur. In other words, you don't have all the steps or all the events from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It's just giving you the highlights. This is why it's so important to read the whole volume of the book of the 1611. But when you read verse 24, you learn that the first anti-Messiah, okay, when I say anti-Messiah, I'm talking about the first one who was against the word of Yahuwah, the first one who was against the covenant of Yahuwah, the first one who was against the Torah of Yahuwah, the one who be labeled as an anti-Messiah was Antiochus IV Epiphanes. And after him, many follow after him, which can be confirmed in 1 John chapter 2, verse 18, because it tells us that many anti-messiahs will come after him until we get to the last one. Okay. Now, I also want you to remember that when Antiochus reigned, he reigned during the time of the Roman Empire rule. Therefore, he was subjected under their reign. I highly recommend that you read the book of Maccabees, which is in the Apocrypha, to give you more understanding, and also do furthermore research of history. Okay. So as I said before, now we are waiting for the last anti-Messiah to come, for we know many has came. The first one that started off was Antiochus Epiphanes, and the last one to come can be confirmed in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, Revelations chapter 13, and Revelations chapter 17. Okay. Now we get into the verse that confirm what I'm telling you about times. Verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of times. So since the first anti-Messiah leading up to the last anti-Messiah, guess what? They have been changing times and laws. We can see evidence of that. They're allowing the Sodomites to marry one another when marriage was created for man and woman. That's in the Bible. Okay. There's so many other things they're allowing. Okay. But I want to keep this video short. All right. Now, I ought to mention what the fourth beast is, which is the Roman Empire. And evidence to prove that can be found in Numbers chapter 24, 2 Samuel chapter 23, verse 1 through 7, books on the book of Daniel, the book of Esdras, the first and second, and the book of Revelation. Read that when you have time to get more understanding. But we are in the Roman Empire. Another verse I would want you to read is Daniel chapter 2, verse 20 to 23. And to save some time, I want to read one verse. But a lot of people, again, is putting limits on Yahuwah. Again, he has the right to change times and seasons. So he has the right to change the sun year to 365 days and 366 days. He has the right to change the moon to 354 days and 355 days. And the thing is, when you don't read a whole volume book, you're not going to understand what events affected time. And one of the events is looking at when Hezekiah was healed. For the sun shadow on the sundial went back 10 degrees, which also affected time. Another mystery that many do not understand. But let us keep going. Okay, so when we read Daniel chapter 2, verse 21, you will learn that Yahuwah can change times and seasons. For it says, and he changes the times and the seasons. He removeth kings, and he setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. Take this time now to pause the screen to read the rest of this. But now let's get to the juicy part. Okay, and the juicy part is dealing with the history of the Julian and the Gregorian calendar. Now, before I go to that tab, and I want you to go ahead and write this down, because when we start learning about the history of the Julian and the Gregorian calendar, you need to be aware of their weekly format. Okay, the original weekly format of the heathens' calendars was in this order. Saturday, which is also known as Saturn, is the first day of the week. Sunday, the second day. Monday, the third day. Tuesday, the fourth day. Wednesday, the fifth day. Thursday, the sixth day. And Friday, the seventh day in the heathen's calendar. Write that down. That was the original format. Now, in the year of 321 AD, you will learn that Constantine, he was using the Julian calendar, but he changed the weekly format. Okay. And most of you are aware of this. So when he changed the weekly format, Sunday became the first day of their week, and Saturday became the seventh day of their week. He also enforced this weekly format upon my people. He forced this upon the Israelites. I highly recommend that you study the history dealing with Hillel, Hillel, because that was the time period when they started making Yahuwah's calendar fixed. Okay. In other words, it was not going along with the heavens. It was going along with men doctrines. Big difference. Again, I cannot stress to you on how important for you to take your calendar and go out and observe the heavens to make sure that your calendar align up with the heavens. Okay. And if you have anything different on your calendar, you should be able to provide reason according to biblical prophecies. Okay. Those who have been watching the videos dealing with the new moon reports, you understand what I'm talking about with dealing with biblical prophecies. Okay. But let us continue. Now we're going to the part of getting understanding about the Julian calendar. These links will be in the video description box so you can read. Now this is about to get deep, my people. Bear with me because we got to go over this. It says the Julian Calendar, and this comes from timeanddate.com. First, I want you to look at this chart over here where my cursor is. For it let us know that the Julian calendar was used in the Roman Empire and some Christian churches. So you need to ask yourself, we are Israelites. We are the Most High people. Why would we be using their calendar? And why would we follow their weekly format? Something to think about. Also, the Julian calendar is based on solar, which means it's based on the sun. As far as the accuracy of the Julian calendar, it says 11 minutes per year or 1 day in 128 years. It says the number of days in the Julian calendar for their common year was 365, for their leap year was 366, and the number of their months was 12. And correction, metabolism, what means, how did they correct their calendar was by a leap day. Okay, so let us start from the top. The Julian calendar was introduced by Julius Caesar in 45 BCE and replaced the Roman calendar. So keep in mind, when the nation of Israel was established, which was in the day 8 of creation, which is day 3 from Adam, we ought to have our own calendar. So keep that in mind, okay? So it was established in 45 BCE and it replaced the Roman calendar, okay? Now I shall read to you the paragraph that falls under replace lunar calendar. The Julian calendars predecessor, the Roman calendar, was a very complicated lunar calendar based on the moon phases. It required a group of people to decide when days should be added or removed in order to keep the calendar in sync with the astronomical seasons marked by equinoxes and solstice. Now, I want to let you know, solstice and equinox is biblical. It's just under a different wording. This is what the Gentile call it. You have to read 1st and 2nd Enoch, and you have to read the Old Testament because you have to understand the circuit of the sun and the circuit of the moon and how they are aligned with the heavens. These dealing with celestial points. And then when you understand those celestial points in the heaven, then you understand about the equinox and the solstice. But 1st and 2nd Enoch will give you greater understanding. Okay, so as we see here in this paragraph, we learned that the original Roman calendar before the Julian calendar was based on the moon phases. But they changed from that because it was too complicated for them. Again, they didn't have the wisdom and understanding from the Most High. Now let us read the next area. First, solar calendar. In order to create a more standardized calendar, Julius Caesar consulted an Alexandrian astronomer named Sosigenes and created a more regulated civil calendar. A solar calendar based entirely on Earth revolutions around the sun, also called a tropical year. Now I want to clarify this to you. That is not correct when you read the word tropical year. Tropical year is dealing with the sun circuit. Learn these things for yourself. That's why I tell you, when you read the Gentiles' writings, you need to make sure that you know the Most High truth because they do get things twisted up. Okay, but let us continue to go. It takes our planet on average approximately 365 days, 5 hours, 48 minutes, and 45 seconds, which is 365.24, to complete a full orbit around the sun. But for us Israelites, we know, according to the prophet Enoch, and from studying the heavens, that for the sun to complete its circuit, it takes about 365.25 days. Okay? However, if you don't get 365.25, remember there were some things to affect time. You have to consult Yahuwah for that. But let us continue to read. Also, the Most High want me to mention to you, notice how they base everything around the sun. It goes around sun worship, which is also known as Mithras, Mithras, which the Romans are good for that. And when they converted what they call today to Christianity, which is just another word for Mithras. They took their sun worship and pagan ways and mixed it all in together. This is why we have a lot of pagan holidays, such as Christmas, such as Easter, and so forth. Okay, keep that in mind. Introducing leap years. A common year in the Julian calendar has 365 days divided into 12 months. In the Julian calendar, every 4 years is a leap year, with a leap day added to the month of February. At the time, February was the last month of the year, and leap day was February 24th. Now, you want to highlight that. This is in the Julian calendar, even though they based it on the sun. Now, we are aware, according to the word in Genesis 1 and 14, that we based our calendar on the sun, the moon, and the stars. Okay? But for the heathens, they based it on the sun. But what I find interesting is that in the Julian calendar, the last month of their year was in February. Something to really think about, okay? This is very important to see. Now we can see how many changes was made. And in every 4th year, they added a leap day, okay? So it says in this line, at the time, February was the last month of the year, and leap day was February the 24th. February 30 was a real date. Now you can click on that link for more information. However, leap years were not observed in the first years after the reform due to a counting error. In the first years of the Julian calendar existence, until 12 Common Era, known as CE, every 3rd year was a leap year due to a calculation error. So as you can see, whoever was keeping the record for Julian didn't count correctly. So instead of every 4 years, they ended up counting every 3 years. That's something very important to know. Too many leap days. The Julian calendar format to calculate leap years produced a leap year every 4 years. This is way too often, and eventually the Julian calendar and important religious holidays like Easter were several days out of sync, and the fixed dates for the astronomical events like equinox and solstice. So what it's saying that when you have the spring equinox and the fall equinox to come around, they was keeping their pagan holiday too soon. In other words, their Easter was probably falling in winter. I'm telling you, it feels so good to understand the Most High knowledge and to have his wisdom and understanding. Okay? So they was running into problems with that. All right, let us keep reading. Realign with the sun. The introduction of the Gregorian calendar allowed for the realignment with events like the vernal equinox and winter solstice. The solution to this error was to replace the Julian calendar with the Gregorian calendar in 1582. Okay, that's something you definitely want to keep this in mind. So the reason why they brought forth the Gregorian calendar, because it was not in sync with the heavens. The Julian calendar was not in sync in the areas with the heavens. Number one, they had a counting error, and number two, they was probably not observing correctly. Again, they was not given wisdom and knowledge and understanding of the Most High Word. Okay. So their solution for this problem was to replace the Julian calendar with the Gregorian calendar. Now, this is a part you really want to click on, and we're going to read that too. For it says, why are several days missing in 1752? We're going to come back to that. Okay, but let us finish this out. Because if they have this many errors in their calendar format as well as their weekly format, again, how do you know that the Sabbath day that you are keeping is correct? How will you know, my brothers and sisters? Let us keep going. The Julian calendar in modern society. Although the Gregorian calendar has become the international civil calendar, the Julian calendar was still used by some countries in the early 1900s. I want to pause here. So as we can see, the Gregorian calendar was worldwide. However, some other countries are still using the Julian calendar, which can be proven, and they were still using it in the early 1900s. Now, this is 2017, and they were still using the Julian calendar? Something to really think about. Okay, some Orthodox churches still use it today to calculate the dates of movable feasts, such as the Orthodox Church in Russia. When you see this word movable feast, those who have a copy of the King James 1611 Bible, that's a chart with almanacs and other stuff. When they talk about movable feasts, they talking about what the Roman Catholic keeps, like Lent and all this other stuff they do. That's what they're talking about. Okay, but let us continue. Others who still use the Julian calendar include the Berber people of North Africa and on Mount Athos. The calendar was used throughout the Roman Empire and by various Christian churches. Now, when you read this last line, what is confirming to you? Daniel chapter 7. What empire are we still in? The Roman Empire. And I'm going to let you know, the Roman Catholic Church and the Synagogue of Satan are all on the same team. Even the Jewish people who are the sons of Esau and the sons of Japheth. They're all on the same team. They're all working together. Do not be fooled. Okay, let us continue to read. The Julian period for astronomers. The Julian period, or the Julian date system, provide astronomers with a single system of dates that could be used when working with different calendars to align different historical chronologies. It assigns a Julian date. It assigns a Julian day, JD, to every year without having to worry about BCE or CE. Now, CE means common era. Okay. And what are they talking about? That when you go from BC to AD, there is no number 0. Okay. But when they use the Julian calendar, there is a number 0 between 1 AD and 1 BC. And you'll see what I'm saying as I read further. Okay. Let me read this again. It assigns a Julian date, JD, to every year without having to worry about BCE or CE, which is known as Common Era. It was invented by French scholar Joseph Justus Scaliger in 1583, who proposed that the Julian period starts at noon on January the 1st, 4713 BCE Julian calendar, and lasts for 7,980 years. Okay, so when you take a difference between the two, again, it's showing that this calendar has not existed this long. Okay, it don't go back. It does even go back to the days of Adam. But anyway, let's keep reading. This was the term because it is a period. It is a time period long enough to include all of the recorded history and includes some time in the future that would incorporate the 3 important calendrical, and I hope I pronounced this word correctly, but let me say this again, that would incorporate the 3 important calendrical cycles: the golden number cycle, the solar cycle, and the Roman indiction. Now, to get more understanding, when they're talking about the golden number cycle, you're going to have to look at your King James 1611 Almanac and then watch the video in the YAHUWAH calendar playlist. It is listed as the last 2 videos. One of the last 2 videos is titled the King James 1611 Almanac to give you more insight. Okay, let us continue to read. The golden number cycle is a cycle of 19 years, while the solar cycle is a cycle of 28 years. And the Roman indiction repeats every 15 years. Thus, the Julian period is calculated to be 7,980 years long, or, let me see here, 2,914,695 days, because 9 times 28 times 15 equals 7,980. All right. So basically, when you understand about the golden number and where 19 come from, and dealing with the solar year and where 28 years come from, Read 2nd Enoch. That's a little hint for you. Okay. So that's the end of that article. So remember when I was telling you, when you get some time, definitely click on why are 7 days missing in 1752? And I want to go there now. So I'm going to take this out because I don't need this anymore. I'm not going to read everything in this article, but I want you to make time to read this. Okay. I'm going to read certain parts of this. Let me start with the top line. Change from Julian to Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar was first introduced in 1582, but it took more than 300 years for all the different countries to change from the Julian calendar. Something to really think about. Again, y'all still want to follow the heathens format, even for the week, even for the Sabbath? Okay. The Gregorian calendar, also known as the Western or Christian calendar, is the most widely used calendar in the world today. Okay. And we know why it's known as the Western or Christian calendar. Again, this is the Roman Empire, and the Romans are the originator of quote unquote Christians. And the reason why I say that, because when you study about the words in the Bible and you study etymology, you will learn that the correct word for us to be called was Nazarene. In other words, we should have been called Mashiachim Nazarene, which means Masonic Nazarene. That means we believe in the Messiah and we follow the Messiah. Okay, but let us keep reading. Its predecessor, the Julian calendar, was replaced because it did not properly reflect the actual time it takes the Earth to circle once around the sun, known as tropical year. Again, I want to stress to you, tropical year is dealing with looking at the sun circuit. Okay, I don't like how the Gentiles use these words, but when you study 1st and 2nd Enoch, you will learn that with the sun circuit, it would take 365.25 days. And according to Yahuwah instructions, the 0.25 is only added in the 4th year. And this is why we get 366 days. But this 366 days of the sun does not occur when the heathens tell us. Okay? You have to keep a record of the Most High account to understand what I'm talking about. But let us continue. Okay, now let's go to the part of skip several days. All right. To get the calendar back in sync with astronomical events like the vernal equinox or the winter solstice, a number of days would drop. Now you want to highlight that. A number of days would drop. And this is done with the Gregorian calendar. The papal bull issued by Pope Gregory XIII in 1582 decreed that 10 days be dropped when switching to the Gregorian calendar. However, the later the switch occurred, the more days had to be omitted. This created short months with only 18 days and odd dates like February the 30th during the year of the changeover. In North America, the month of September 1752 was exceptionally short, skipping 11 days. You want to take this time now to pause your screen to hear what these heathens did in their own calendar. They dropped some days. And the days they dropped, when I look at it, it's not in form of 7. You got, when they realized that the Julian was not in sync with the heavens, they were supposed to drop 10 days. However, for them to switch over to the Gregorian calendar, this correction didn't occur later. And because the correction occurred later, they had to add more days to be omitted. And it says, see the table below. And we're going to go down so you can see this. And notice that the days that were omitted is not in numbers of 7. Something to really think about for y'all who say that the week is continuous and it's every 7 days. Well, guess what? The heathens didn't follow that format. They omitted some days, and it won't by the number 7. Something to really think about. It said here that the switch took more than 300 years. The Gregorian calendar was the first introduced in 1582 in some European countries. Okay. And here they want to let us know that in this chart, the list shows only a small selection of countries. Okay. However, many countries use the Julian calendar much longer. Turkey was the last country to officially switch to the new system on January the 1st, 1927. Now, and the Most High want me to let you know, remember, when Constantine made the changes to the weekly format, it was done with the Julian calendar. He wasn't following the Gregorian calendar. Okay? And then the Julian calendar was not in sync with the heavens. Again, that whole calendar is out of order. And now we have learned that the Julian calendar and the Gregorian calendar does not have any records that go back further to the days of Adam. Again, my brothers and sisters, how do you know what Sabbath you're keeping? How do you know that the Sabbath that you are keeping is correct? How do you know? Because see, the word gave us instructions on how to figure it out. But again, because we have been educated by the Gentiles, our mind is polluted with their knowledge. See, we have to go back and seek Yahuwah for his knowledge and understanding. Okay, but let us continue to read. However, many countries use the Julian calendar much longer. Turkey was the last country to officially switch to the new system on January the 1st, 1927. Okay, so now you can see which country, when they had to make correction to the Gregorian calendar, how many days to omit. So from the year of 1582 to 1610, France, Austria, Germany, Italy, Poland, Portugal, Spain, Hungary, Germany, known as Prussia, they had to omit 10 days. But in 1752, the United States, where most of the areas in United States as well as calendar, and the United Kingdom with its colonies, they had to omit 11 days. When you look at Japan, they didn't come in until 1872/1873, and they had to omit 12 days. When you look at Bulgaria in 1916, they had to omit 13 days, and that was the same with Russia, Estonia in 1918. That was the same also with Greece in 1923 and with Turkey in 1926/1927. So these are not in the number of 7. So again, how do you know if the Sabbath day you keep it is Yahuwah's Sabbath day? Something to really think about. I'm going to read this paragraph here below the chart. It said, the delay in switching meant that different countries not only follow different calendars for a number of years, but also have different rules to calculate whether a year was a leap year. Everybody doing on their own thing, huh? This explains why the years 1700, 1800, and 1900 were leap years in countries still using the Julian calendar, such as Greece, while in countries that had adopted the Gregorian calendar, such as Germany, these years were common years. Okay? I'm going to read this part here. It said 13 days behind today. Currently 1901, 2099. The Julian calendar is 13 days behind the Gregorian calendar. Today, Gregorian's calendar uses more accurate leap year formula, making it far more accurate than the Julian. However, it is not perfect either. Compared to the tropical year, it is off by 1 day every 3,236 years. So I didn't read the whole article. I read on the highlights. Take this time now to go back and read this article, because it's showing us that neither one of these calendars are perfect. They had errors, nor do they go back to the days of Adam, who was our forefather, nor are their calendars lined up with the word, because the word says we're supposed to use the sun, the moon, and the stars for Yahuwah's calendar. Okay? Something to really think about, my brothers and sisters. Okay? So, as we are coming to a conclusion of this word, this is the question I really want you to ask yourself And I really want you to meditate and think about it. And when you don't know the answer, do not go to man. I want you to seek Yahuwah. Seek his word. Seek his understanding. Don't go with your conclusion and your thoughts. Because he told us in Isaiah chapter 55 that his thoughts and his ways are not our thoughts and ways. So now we learn that in the Most High Holy Calendar, that the weeks are not continuous as the Gentiles say. It's not. It's not. And we learn according to the word that it is the moon who tell us when the times are. It is the moon that let us also know when the Sabbath days are. For the moon let us know when it's the new moon day. It also let us know when the holy feast days are. Therefore, it also let us know when it's the Sabbath day. And the sun and the stars, all of them work together with the moon. Okay? For the sun tell us when the day begin and end. And the sun with the stars tell us when the seasons begin and end. A mystery that many do not understand. So here's this question. How do you know the Sabbath you are keeping is the Sabbath day? Provide the evidence. Prove all things as written in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. And remember, Genesis chapter 1, verse 14, Ezekiel chapter 46, verse 1, and Ben Sirah chapter 43, verse 6 through 10. And now I know you're probably wondering, when is the Sabbath day? The Sabbath day is the 8th, the 15th, the 22nd, the 29th day of the moon. The new moon day is the first day of the moon. This is confirmed by the King James 1611 from the Old Testament to the New Testament, including the Apocrypha. And my spirit is letting me know to tell you this, because I know some of y'all want, the confirmation right away. You're going to have to read Exodus chapter 6 and write it out. Take your time, read each scripture slowly. Okay, write it out. Exodus chapter 6, and you're going to have to read all 4 Gospels to write out the timeline. From Abib 14, which is Passover, the day that Messiah was crucified, to Abib 16, which is the sheep weight offering day of the first fruits of the barley harvest. For on Abib 16, that was the day when the Messiah was resurrected in the dawn phase of daylight before sunrise. Okay? Very important. Excuse my phone. What else I was going to tell you? And the sheep weight offering day comes after the Sabbath day, and the Sabbath day was Abib 15, and that's confirmed in Mark chapter 16. Okay, but you're gonna have to read all 4 books to get all the pieces to the puzzle and write out everything from sundown to sundown for each day. Okay, there's a mystery in there that many don't understand about the 3 days and 3 nights. And to understand that mystery, you're going to have to read about Moses being on Mount Sinai for 40 days and 40 nights. But you will learn that he went on the mountain after the morning activities. Okay, so he probably went there probably sometime around noon. But yet that day count as day 1 of daylight. A mystery that many do not understand. So these videos will be in the video description box. But especially with dealing with the calendar that I showed to you here for the month of Abib and for the month of Zif, which is the second month of the Hebrew calendar. That video link will be in the description box to give you more understanding about the second moon. For that second moon was a super moon crescent, okay, for this year of 2017. And the reason why you see 2017 to 2018 again, our years, our days overlap into what the heathens have. Okay, and you understand this more as you study about Yahuwah's calendar. Okay, also check the video description box so you don't have to worry about writing this out right here. You don't have to write this out. All you have to do to get access to this calendar format, you just need to click on Abib and Zif calendar and you will get access to it. Now, my brothers and sisters, remember our brother Eliasha and his family, for they have been falsely accused, and their children have been taken away from them. Pray for them and to keep their story alive. And their testimony will also be listed in the video description box, so you can watch that video as well. And their testimony is also on YouTube and it's on Facebook. I want to close out with a prayer. I plead the blood of Yahuswshua HaMashiyach upon this video and the links attached. I prayed for your people, Yahuwah, that they seek you for your understanding. I pray that they understand what grace and mercy is. I pray also that they understand the curse that you put upon the nation of Israel. Because if we didn't have this new covenant, all of us would have fallen short. For now we are understanding that none of us has kept Torah perfectly nor correctly. But through the new covenant, we can keep Torah now, correctly and perfectly. For the Messiah covered all of us. And as you give us more, such as you give us more of your understanding and wisdom, now we begin to understand what is your true and holy days, according to your word. Now, I also pray that whoever listens to this video, that your heart is not hardened. I pray that your ears are open and that your eyes are also open as well. I pray that you be willing to receive, and I pray that you receive understanding from Yahuwah. And for anything that I have not prayed for, Father, I ask that you fulfill it according to your will. I pray also that wherever our enemies have planned against us, that it fall upon them and that they fall in their own pits. But most importantly, I pray that our enemies will repent and turn from their evil ways. I also pray for Brother Eliasha family. Look over them. Use them, Father, so your name can be glorified. Turn a bad situation to a good situation like you did with Joseph. Because what is meant for our bad come out to our good, as confirmed in the book of Genesis and Romans chapter 8, I believe. And then again, Father, if I have not prayed for something, or even if I forgot, I ask that you fulfill it according to your will. In the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, so be it. So, my brothers and sisters, I hope that this word was fulfilling and give you the understanding that you need. And if not, seek Yahuwah while we're in this time of mercy and grace. Begin to understand him. Because when the Messiah comes back for all of us, the 144,000, the bride, and for the nation of Israel, he can get all of us on one accord. And we're going to follow Yahuwah's word. See, we're going back to Torah, as confirmed in the prophets' writings. We're going back to it, and we shall keep it in the new eternal kingdom. So this concludes this word that we must have 6 working days between the new moon day and the Sabbath day. And because we have these 6 working days, we now have the confirmation that this is Yahuwah's Sabbath days. For the Julian and Gregorian calendar is of the heathens, and as we can see, they did not have the understanding nor the wisdom of Yahuwah. All right, my family, continue to preach the word that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, for we know we are in the last days and that the Messiah is coming. Read 2 Ezra chapter 7. Make sure you baptize the people in the name of Yahuwshua HaMashiyach, and make sure they receive salvation as written in Romans chapter 10. And make sure you read Mark chapter 16. For we all must be baptized. We all must follow the Lamb example. And read the whole book of Acts, for the apostles still continued the water baptism. It did not stop. I love you all, and shalom.